Hey there, I'm Kevin Downey, and I run an agency called Kevin M. Downey, where we help companies with their recruiting and email marketing efforts. You can visit our website at kevinmdowney.com. Okay, today's topic, why and how to build an inside sales team with remote reps from Latin America, right? So we call it LATAM for short. So how do you do it? Why should you consider it? And maybe what you don't know about reps in Latin America and the state of things in sales and business development recruiting, right? So I'm going to go through a few things. The first and obvious reason why you would build an inside sales team with reps in Latin America is because reps currently for your business in the United States, you can't get ROI out of them any longer, or it takes too long to get to ROI on a rep from day one when they start, simply because their prospecting efforts aren't getting where they need to go fast enough. Their client acquisition is taking too long. And we are hearing and seeing, reps to get to ROI taking 12, 18 months, or even longer. For enterprise companies, that's perfectly fine. They can withstand that, right? Mid-market usually can. We get into small business, boy, it gets a lot tougher, right? So cost factor of reps is a huge challenge in a lot of companies in the United States with their sales teams. And certainly in B2B, in small business, we hear this quite often, that reps in the United States, getting ROI out of them has gotten really hard. Reps just can't make enough money. They're not able to get to decision makers fast enough to build a lead base, to get the client base going quickly enough. And it's a big problem and a challenge out there. So what do you do to solve it, right? So one of the things you can do is obviously look at a dedicated business development team that's a lot less expensive, let's say with reps in Latin America, to generate leads and appointments for your sales team, right? So you're giving them more of accelerating their client acquisition right in the early stages by bringing them stuff so that they're not spending time on their salary at $75, $100, $125,000 a year doing prospecting for 12, 18 months, right? So that's one way to do it. But another solution for some companies, is certainly certain types of products and services, is to just recruit inside sales reps in Latin America, right? And have them do sales, right? Prospecting all the way through sales. So how do you go about doing that, right? There's a few different parts, and why should you do that? Well, obviously, cost of living is going to be significantly less. We recruit from Mexico all the way down to Argentina, as well as the Caribbean, inclusive of Dominican Republic. And we get a lot of talent, right? So we're getting about 100 candidates a day. We get 4, 5, 6 really good ones a day recruiting Latin America. And you can visit our website and look at our LATAM recruiting program. It's a flat fee, and we recruit and bring you all the talent that you need, and you'd have a ton to work with, right? But their cost of living is so much less that their base compensation, which in Latin America, they're used to more of a 75 to 80% of their total comp as base, which is fine because you're dealing in base salaries that are typically in the $10,000 to $20,000 range. In Mexico, we're seeing more in the $20,000 to $25,000 range, and occasionally higher. But most of the time, we're dealing in $10,000 to $20,000 range in base compensation. You're looking at dynamite talent in Central America as well as the Dominican Republic. A lot of these kids that are from, families that have the wherewithal, these kids have come to the United States for college. They've gotten their degrees. They've worked for U.S. companies, and then they've gone back home for a lower cost of living. We have a lot of kids down there that have gotten their online degrees with, let's say, Purdue University Online is one we see a lot. They've gotten their online degree with a U.S. university. They speak impeccable English. They've got experience in sales and business development most of the time for U.S. companies. And so you've got some really exceptional talent down there, right? So we obviously have the talent for you if you need that help. So then the questions that most people have, the two big things: how do I pay said rep, right? Do I have to employ them, so to speak, right? And how do I set them up with a phone and track their work? So let's deal with the latter thing first because it's really easy, right? For phone, voice over IP, if you don't have one set up already for your company, you don't have something that they can use like a phone number that they can log into and use online. It's just Open Phone or Ring Central, and there's a number of other players in that space. They are perfectly suitable solutions, very inexpensive. I think we're on Open Phone as an agency, and it runs about $20 a month per person per number, and very effective and works really well. It's got a phone app for mobile phone. It's got an app for the computer. You can use the browser. Very, very effective, right? So phone is easy. You can track their work by just tracking their calls. You can record their calls with those systems. You obviously can use things like Track and other systems that do the tracking of other things they are doing on their computer, right? If you need to do that. For sales and business development, I worry more about the phone calls and the phone log and recordings than I do anything else. But some people want to do more tracking than that, and that's all easy to do. Right. So now what's the next part? How do you pay them? Well, we get asked all the time, well, do we 1099 them? They're not U.S. citizens, so 1099 doesn't apply. It doesn't have anything to do with it, right? So if you're going to employ them, you would need to be the employer of record in that country, or you use what is called an EOR. Our bigger company clients who go and recruit numerous people in Latin America, for example, or let's say in Southeast Asia, they use what's called an EOR. They will have the EOR basically employ that individual, and then they pay the EOR through a single invoice for that rep's services or work, right, on a monthly basis. And that includes, the EOR fee, taxes and insurance and all that stuff. Now, when we get into small businesses, typically they're not doing that. They're paying the reps directly, right? So how are they paying them directly? Two main services that you're going to use to pay reps in other countries, very simply, is going to be Wise. So wise.com is our favorite. Remitly is a great resource. Another one, if Wise doesn't service a country like, for example, Brazil. You cannot do Wise in Brazil, so you have to use Remitly. It does basically the same thing. It's very polished, advanced business version of PayPal, if you will, or Venmo, so to speak, right? But it's very professional and polished and very regulated, and the tracking is very good and all that stuff. So getting money to people and all that stuff is easy as pie. So those are the big ways that we see paying. Do some reps have PayPal? Sure, if they were in the United States for a while, they can have Venmo or PayPal, and they still run that, and then they move the money to they either use a U.S. bank account still, or they move the money to their bank account in their home country. But either way, it's not that difficult. It's very simple. And we have an actual document for our clients who are recruiting Latin America on this topic if they need the help on the different things that you want to have and utilize. So that's basically it. It's that simple. And then, of course, you give them an email address from your company, and away they go, right? Email address, phone number, and obviously you have to give them maybe a prospect list and put them on your CRM or wherever you're putting your prospect list. But at the end of the day, it's that simple. And then you just have to pay them, right? And it's that easy. So if you have any questions, you want to look at some of the talent we have available, reach out to us, kevinmdowney.com. Thanks for being here today. Really appreciate it. Best of luck in business, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.